firsthand, but Department of Labor federally and Department of Workforce Development at the state, they collect a lot of that data. They can tell you what the entry level and median and long-term wages are from restaurants to light industrial to heavy. They can tell you where it's at on average. We're going to have to tap into that a little bit, but we're really at some point going to really need to know for all DD providers, all elderly providers, CVRFs, RCHCs, adult family homes, adult daycare. We're going to have to figure out what those wages are and then figure out, identify. Anytime you're doing this, you're trying to figure out how to describe in words, policy, what you're going to look at. You know, who's competing for those employees? My argument, and I think Ted's already made the argument, he's going to say you're competing with light industrial. You're competing with quick trip. Yes, you have fast food restaurants, but those are probably lower on the food chain, but you're competing with people who would go to work for warehousing, light industrial, and others that get paid more. It's going to be up to us to push that point to get the department to accept it, because if they accept it, the danger here is for them is that what it cost family care yesterday under a new system could cost a lot more. That's what we want. Their job is to just try to be independent and not. But the legislature, if we say it costs $1 billion more, they're going to freak out. But I'm worried that's what it's going to cost. We've already put $500 million in to keep it upright. We still need more. So I bet it is closer to $1 billion to upright the ship. But I know that was pretty long, but we don't know. It's a blank slate. But we need to be part of the team internally at DHS to help define the policy of what kind of information they need to then extrapolate and create a number so that the legislature accepts it.
You know, we've met with Curtis Cunningham 3 times in the last 5 years. Twice Art and I have met with him. I think once Liz, 3 times.
Yes, sir.
And I think Liz Bresky and I met with him one other time. And you know, Catherine, to your point, this isn't rocket science necessarily. For St. Coletta's purposes, you know, the moonshot algorithm that we used was zip code based, tied to retail, tied to light manufacturing, and we looked at market cues that would put us kind of in there, the bracket, if you will, of where we'd have to be competitive. And you know what? For the purposes, for us, it is served. Now, you know, state may be looking for something more, I guess, more analytical, maybe?
Well, and they want a consultant to tell them, because they don't want to be accused of, they can be accused either way of keeping things too low or being too crazy and making things too high. So they're always trying to figure out what it actually is. So it's working with government. The challenge is when you're trying to make policy, you have to remember every policy you make is going to have people who like it and people who hate it. There will be winners and losers. And from a government perspective, no matter what you do, someone's going to complain and someone's going to rip you apart. They're going to try to get it right. And I'm not taking the department's side on this, but the resources they have of people is challenging right now to them because they've got more people dealing with COVID-19 in the different respects, and they're not able, you can only push so many people to do so much work. And I would say they believe they're strapped on workforce issues, but that's not our problem. Our problem is we need it fixed because everyone recognizes it's broken. And you put $500 million into something to keep it upright, guess what? You got a hole in the ship. You have a question.
Yeah, I was wondering, you mentioned those work groups, the work groups that are going to work on this market-based rates. How do you get invited to that? Will there be providers? Will there be
good
NCOs?
Question. I don't think they've figured it out yet, but over 10 years ago when we put it together, it was the 4 associations. They each had a couple of their members a part of it, sort of like the task force. We're going to be, it's lobbying. I'm going to be yelling, I'm going to be begging, and I'm going to be saying, put 10 on there. But I expect that they'll make sure they have leaders from the 4 associations on it, but then we need actual people who work in the industry who know what they're talking about. And I'm hoping St. Coletta and Ted will be one of those invited, because both Division of Quality Assurance and Division of Medicaid Services, we've pushed the moonshot idea onto them, saying this is truly where you need to go. And I know Curtis is impressed with what was put together. I know Otis Woods from Division of Quality Assurance was impressed with what was put together. But you have to remember, they might be impressed at the staff level, but further up, they're probably going, oh my God, the price tag on that one, Jesus. Sorry. Sorry about that. 12 years of Catholic school just came up and same. But literally it's lobbying. I mean, that's what I do. That's my job, is literally I'm trying to insert myself where I'm not wanted. Yeah.
So what is the MCO's public justification for opposing market-based rates? I know what their private justification is.
They haven't opposed it
Okay.
publicly. Behind the scenes, they're freaked out.
Okay.
And they're freaked out. I haven't been told this directly, but I know some of the lobbyists. I think, this is my opinion, if I'm an MCO, and I've been showing value, because anytime you're contracting with anyone, if I'm contracting with St. Coletta, if I'm contracting with the state of Wisconsin, the Department of Health Services, the important thing as a contractor is to show value. So if your value for nearly 20 years has been, I keep costs low and I keep on cutting, managing costs, and less about managing care, and now I come up with a rate-based system where you no longer get the managed costs, I just took a big deliverable out of their tool chest. So now it's going to be managing care like Badger Care does. And if I'm them, I'm a little worried because a lot of my function just went away. So I would argue your administrative costs should probably go down because you're no longer doing as much as you used to. I think that's what they're worried about, is what value do they bring when probably a big deliverable has been managing costs. And if you move to a rate-based system, a lot of that comes off the table. And price-based system, it's not all positive. There can be cons. John Sauer from Leading Age and I, when I represented nursing homes, I represented the big multis. So Beverly, HCR, and the others. So I was the bad guy to John, even though we were friends, because he was the government municipal. I would always argue, I've been efficient on my staffing, efficient on this, yet I'm getting paid less than the government homes who staff more and do all that. But we used to argue. I always argued we needed to move to a price-based system. At that time, the government homes hated the idea because they knew a price-based system might pay less. My point is, even a price-based system has risks. There are no guarantees. We think it's going to go up. We think for DD, it can only go up. But I know that in the 10 years I've been working on long-term care issues, anytime with a nursing home or assisted living or residential, I brought up price-based. There are people within the profession industry that like it, and there's others freaked out that I've been doing okay and keeping it quiet. But once they get into my books, crap, the little profit I've been making now becomes public and I may not get it. I.e., there can be winners and losers. Now, I know that John Sauer, since we talk a lot, and we always push hold harmless. There's no guarantee of that. So we're hoping it's going to help the entire profession. But I think when I've had other providers come up to me going, there's no guarantee, why would you do this? My point is, you're on this sinking ship. You're asking me if bailing this water out is helpful. Yeah. I don't know, but it's sinking. It's the best thing we can do at the moment. It sure as heck can't hurt. But I think price-based, at least from the DD side of things, it makes a lot of sense because when it comes to wages, comes to reimbursement, we're one of the lowest. And it's also because by design, I don't know if it was intended, but by design, by lawsuit, federal court decisions, by having 8 beds and 4 beds, by design, PD tends to be smaller providers. Yes, there's St. Coletta, yes, there's ORP and HIL, but the vast majority of DD providers, residential and day, are literally 1 4-bed or 5 or 6 bed facility. And when you're those mom and pops, there's no negotiation. You take it or die. That's the problem. But in assisted living, that's different because you're going to have a 100-bed facility. Nursing homes is going to be different. If you go less than 100 beds, you're not doing well unless you're attached to a hospital. That's the difference. So I think our perspective is we need to move this because we are dying right now around the vine. As a profession, we're hurting badly. You've got to make change, and the market-based makes sense. But remember, in the elderly world, I think they want to go there too, but there's a lot of them that think, but this could hurt. But it's different. There are some elderly providers where that assisted living facility is mostly Medicaid, but those are few and far between. On average, it's 20% of their census or less. If you went back 10 years ago, it was literally 5 to 10% of their census. And if you went back to the 1990s when assisted living was created, it was 0. But DD's always been connected to Medicaid program somehow. COP, GIP, now family care. My point is reimbursement rates to providers, and i.e. then the wages to caregivers and staff have been kept artificially low because it's 99.9% of all people being served in DD are reliant on Medicaid. And when you have a program that is a monopoly, my argument has been you've been keeping everything artificially low. Curtis Cunningham's point to me is, I don't disagree with you, but prove it. How do I audit that information? That's a nice statement you made, and it's probably right, but how do you prove it? That's why I need the data.
Question.
Yeah.
Are there other states that are close to this model that you can take pointers from or some of the good valuable points from and apply it?
I believe Washington State is one of the states that the department's looking at. Just by chance, the deputy Medicaid director under both Walker and Doyle just happened to go to Washington State, so now she's an expert on it. But you have to understand, when Wisconsin created family care, no other state was serving assisted living or residential using managed care. We were one of the first. We were the example. And then over the next 2 decades of long-term care and managed care, we were the only state for the longest time that did both DD and elderly. Most states did elderly, but never did DD because it was so challenging. And now when you look at most states in long-term care, we have homegrown managed care organizations. Most other states in managed care, it's United Healthcare, it's Centene, it's Molina, it's the big actors. And just to put it in perspective, in Wisconsin, Badger Care program, which is totally separate, most of the states have 1, 2, or 3 managed care entities serving the entire state for Badger Care or Medicaid acute primary care. Wisconsin has 19. We have 5 here, but none of them are the big insurance companies because the way the rules have been written, it's hard for them to get in. I think it's going to happen eventually, but they've built a wall to keep it out. So we're a lot different, both pros and cons to that. But I will tell you, because I do represent an insurance entity, that when I look at other states, I think we do pay a lot lower in reimbursement rates to DD providers than other states do. But other states have now, a lot of them have caught up to us. We're no longer the leader that led the charge. We were at one point under Tom and Doyle, but everyone's caught up and many have surpassed. But we still, I think we feel at the market base, whether MCOs or the not-for-profits that were homegrown in Wisconsin, or you finally get big insurance companies, if you get a market-based, price-based system, there's a guarantee that there's a floor and you can't go lower than it. I will say, when family care was created, this is the John Sauer Leading Age credit, he and Tom Warren, these names don't, but the 2 nursing home associations, because I worked with them at the time, they created in family care. You don't know this, but most nursing homes or patients are never in family care. You don't need the same service. But those that are in family care and then go to a nursing home, there's something in statute that says family care can never pay a rate lower than the nursing home rate outside of family care. So there's a floor. They can never go lower, it can only go higher. That's basically what we're going to do. Because God knows if that wasn't there, we know the managed care entities would have driven it, said, oh, we're going to pay less. So we're trying to create a floor. That's basically it. And then we can negotiate from there. But we think that floor is necessary to keep family care right financially and from a quality care standpoint. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm Nora Johnson, I'm on the board, and I have a son with special needs who attends the day program. So thanks for your presentation, fabulous. I guess my question is, if we don't have the data that they're asking for to prove it, where are we at then with continuing with the same platform to say we need it for these reasons? Should you or would you consider other elements to add to the argument? Maybe from parent perspective, aging parents or these small mom and pops, you know, turnover in their licenses or them giving up.
Yep.
Because that's really what, I'm a parent, so other than, say, Coletta, you know, are we going to send our child to, or our adult child to Green Bay as we age out? Or go to somebody's house?
The way I'm going to attack this, and I'm sure the other associations will as well, is we're going to attack the next budget in two prongs. One is under the assumption that we don't have a market-based system and we need a lot more money. We do it the traditional way of grassroots, and then wage survey. There's a wage survey now, there'll be another one a year that we're putting together. We're putting together the data through a wage survey, and it's a wage survey to all nursing homes. It's a wage survey to all assisted living elderly, DD, residential, and daycare. That's going on right now. We wish we could get the 80,000 responses we need, or I'm sorry, 60,000 responses we need, but we're just hoping to get about 1,600 to 2,000, because that would be a good scale. So we're going to assume one problem is we're under the old system and we got to get money to plug it and get wages up. The other problem is going to be work on this task force, try to get this thing off the ground, figure out what data needs to be collected, which is what the department of its consultants are going to be identifying, and try to work both ways. Hopefully we get it in time for the next budget, but I suspect we can't based on the time frame they've identified. But we're just going to have to work both, and as time progresses and we get closer, hopefully we know more to make different, to make the decisions as they come. But we definitely have the ear of the legislature. Now, I think they're getting sick of hearing from us. I will tell you that the legislator who helped, I cut this deal on back in 2017, he's now a lobbyist, he's out of all the HMOs and stuff. We were, during finance negotiations, he came up to me and he said, you know that deal we cut? He goes, my other legislators are beating me up for cutting that deal. He goes, you started with 60, now you're $247 million. From the minds of the policymakers in the state, you have to remember, every dollar I put in Medicaid and services for people, that's a dollar I cannot spend on transportation, that's a dollar I can't spend on broadband, it's a dollar I can't spend on other things. They look at it from a different lens. We look at it as we're caring for people that need those services and trying to do it in the most quality way and make sure that people doing the care put food on the table. Some legislators agree with that. Other legislators and policymakers are going to say, but every dollar I put into you more is a dollar less I can put elsewhere. That's the balance. That's why when I'm lobbying and we're pushing, we're truly in a race. We're trying to outdo the manufacturers and commerce. We're trying to outdo the hospitals. We're trying to outdo the petroleum marketers. We're trying to outdo all the others that are all out there asking for money from the state legislature. We've been pretty good since 2017 of getting attention. They had created family care so we couldn't go directly to the legislature and get money. We figured out a way around it. But just know that competition is always going on. And it's my job, our job, and associations to make sure we can still go grab more money and outdo the hospitals, outdo the road builders, I'll do the others that are also out there asking for money, because we have a good story to tell and one that's not passion. That's what differentiates us, but it's literally a race every year. The top 3 or 5 that do it. Because everybody else is jealous of us. I know that's hard to believe, but when you get $500 million, other industries and entities are asking, how do I get that? And they're trying to devise campaigns to try to get a piece of the pie. Sorry to put it in that terms, but it's a race. Do I have time?
Yeah, make it quick.
Sorry.
No, I'm fine, it's just your agenda. It's okay.
So you said for us to look at the Washington State Long-Term Care Act as an example?
Yeah, Washington has a managed long-term care. That's an example to look at. I'd also say take a look at Wisconsin's children long-term care, because it's managed care. Those are good examples. I can probably come up with a couple of others. I know that the department has recently told me to go look at one other place they're looking at. I just can't remember off the top of my head. I know they were looking at Washington as an example. But when you're trying to come up with a brand new model, what you usually do is ask the question, has anybody else done this? You do that because if someone else has done it, they've already made a lot of mistakes and had a lot of headaches and a lot of pain. And you're trying to take the shortcut of, I'm going to learn from their mistakes and not repeat them. So for me, it's trying to figure out where are they looking for ideas and let me read into it so when I get into that meeting, at least I'm on the same level of understanding as they are. But Washington State's one they're looking at, and I'd say the Wisconsin Children's Long-Term Care Program, because it's managed care, that's what they're looking at as well. I'm sure they're looking at a lot more. And they've hired a consultant called Nolan. They do all the auditing for the department on different levels, but they are looking into other states and trying to help the department come up with a plan. Because this is all that federal money I was talking about, and they use some of it for planning, or a lot of it for planning. Under state law, I can't hire any more full-time employees, but I can hire all the consultants I want. So that's why they're hiring consultants, is that's where they can fill in the gaps of not having enough staff and actually get consultants to know what they're talking about, get data. But remember, we don't always see eye to eye. The department's perspective is about controlling costs, but getting quality outcomes. Mine's not about controlling costs, mine's about trying to get enough to make sure that we're running smoothly. So everyone's perspectives of the situation is a little different. If you're the legislature, your situation is, I want the problems to go away, but I don't want to spend more money because I want to spend money elsewhere. I hope this helps. Thank you. Yeah.
Give him a hand. Got a lot of ground to cover yet. So what we're going to do is Robin has got a piece on development. She's going to do her piece. Then we're going to do kind of a working lunch. And Art is going to try to talk to you while you're eating. That's a good thing, because statistics show that you retain more if you're eating. We're going to do that. So without further ado here, I'm going to turn over to Robin. And Robin,
There's two really bad areas to be as a presenter, in a line of presenters. The first one is the very last person because you run out of time because everyone else has talked too much. And the second person is the one right before lunch because you're all hungry and staring at me. I'm going to be very respectful of everyone's time. You can ask me questions if you want. Some of this is going to be already heard from a couple people in the room, from the board, some other folks on my team. So bear with me. Some of it could be repetitive, but I'll try to work my way through quickly. So when we talk fund development and dollars for giving, gifted money, there's a few areas that we look to get that from. Part of what we talk about is, we've heard annual giving before. This is the money that comes to our department consistently on an annual basis from all different areas. Direct mail, that's 2 appeals that we send out a year. The Lead the Charge Gala. Candy Days, this is something we tried to do this year in Brookfield. We got a number of grocery stores to commit to allowing us to stand outside. We had a table, we had volunteers, we all wore aprons, and we solicited funds that way as well. Giving Tuesday, a lot of you have played a part in that. Usually we pick a very specialized program, and we do a virtual appeal every year, trying to raise anywhere from about $12,000 to $25,000 to help a different part of the organization. This year we focused on spirituality. Memorials and honor rolls, you'd be surprised at the number of new donors that we received, giving gifts for people that have passed, either sisters or people that we serve, family members of people that we serve. So that's another area. We tried text to donate. We did that last year during COVID. Crowdfunding is when somebody creates a page, like a family member, they set a goal for $5,000 and they get their friends and family to donate to reach that goal together. And the Employee Giving Program, thank you to all of you in the room that have been giving to that. That goes into a restricted account, and then we ask people that have been giving toward that areas of the opportunity or opportunities to serve different areas of the organization. Where could they use those funds? You guys write the grants, a committee agrees to the money, and then we fund different things around the organization. So who's giving the annual giving? We have family members, we have friends, businesses, service groups. I brought up our employees, also our board. For 2 years now running, our board has done 100% giving, so both the foundation and the Wisconsin Inc. board have both, everyone in those boards combined have donated money, so it's really wonderful to see that support. Another way we do annual giving is also, we can define it differently, we call that major gifts. And major gifts, what we have to document is $5,000 and above per gift. So if you give me $2,000 and then you give me $3,000, neither one are technically major gifts. You are a major giver, but we're really looking for those gifts that start at that $5,000 level and move forward. A lot of times we see those through strategic relationships that we've built over time. Katie with her wonderful work with grant writing, soliciting foundations, and then campaigns. Ted mentioned that before. We're looking at maybe producing a sustainability campaign here to help grow those reserves. Planned giving, now these are gifts that we'll see. We never know where we're going to realize them. We really don't have a lot of control. Those are gifts that help build the pipeline though for generations in the future. This is things that when people pass, you might see a gift from a will or a trust. We've had people leave life insurance policies, part of their 401k, their Roths, things like that. This is just a little image to really talk about when we pitch planned giving. Give a percent to your families and then keep a percentage behind for your charities. It's a lot easier to do that way than pick a number because we really don't know at the end of the day what that might be. So this is a chart that I pulled from givingusa.org. It's really a breakdown of where and who is giving in the sense of types of people. So you have individuals, which is families, which is just people on their own. You have giving by foundations, which is a lot of what Katie works on, trying to figure out relationships between different organizations that might have their own foundation, private family foundations, things like that. Bequest, that's really what planned giving is, and then giving by corporation. Sometimes we get lucky with that. It's an area that we definitely want to push on in the future. But as you see here, the breakdown where funding is coming from, this is really in 2020 for the United States of America, and where all these contributions are going. We mimic this very similar here at St. Coletta. So we're seeing a lot from individuals, we're seeing a good amount from foundations, and then it gets a little bit lower as you go down the chart. For 10 years of giving for development, what you see here is it's defined by the fiscal years on the left column. The goal for the department is that second one, the actual dollars brought in for the years, that highlighted column. And then we talk a lot about unrestricted versus restricted dollars. And what does that mean for the organization? So unrestricted money is really money and donations that come in that can serve the area of greatest need. The donor doesn't put any sort of specific intent on it. This is money that usually goes generally back right into the general operating and gets spent down on compensation, capital projects for houses, things like that. And restricted money is really, it has to have an earmark attached to it. And so we'll have families that will give $10,000 to put new windows in a house, things like that. And so that money is actually reported differently. It's put in a different account, and it's actually also audited separately. While that money is helpful, and we love that as well because it helps to really cut back on some of the other costs that are involved in running this organization, unrestricted dollars is really always what we're trying to push on. So as you can see here, there's some outlier years. The first year, 2011 and 2012, the actual amount brought in was $5 million. That actually came from a majority of that came from a sale of a cotton ranch that we inherited as a legacy gift. As you move along, we've had a number of average years in there. 2015, 2016, that $3 million goal. That actually came in, $2 million of that was from the Van Winter Foundation. That's somebody that we serve here, their family donated money for a number of years. As you work down, you're going to see the restricted stays about the same, but then you see these really large numbers down here, this 2.8 million and that 1.3. This is Grace Landing money. This is the money donated to actually go toward the construction of those homes. Whereas now you see a change in that. Now that the homes are built, you're seeing a lot more capital come in through unrestricted dollars versus that restricted. And that's really kind of the shift that we're looking for now that those homes are built. This money does include a little Grace Landing, also includes a lot of Katie's work too, and bringing those restricted dollars for programs like rec, spirituality, things like that. So for this year, we've had a really wonderful year. We're at $3.8 million. Our goal is 2.7. We still have 6 months left, so there is quite a bit that we have time to find still. I am aware of some gifts coming in that will really push us over the $4 million mark. The breakdown is annual foundation, which is, again, grant writing, legacy. That's our bequests, our planned gifts. And we've had years in the past. I've been in development now for 5 years, and there have been years that we have not gotten $1 from legacy. So it really changes the game at the end of the day if we can receive those gifts. Now again, we don't know when we're going to realize it, we can't control it, but the big goal for the department is continuing to fill that pipeline, bringing those gifts in, getting them secure, and then knowing when someone passes that there's an opportunity there to realize it. It has changed the game remarkably, especially this year. And then major giving also can be, again, that's at $5,000 above. Those gifts are documented differently. Keep a note, the unrestricted dollars were over $3 million for this year. That's remarkable. All that money goes toward general operating and helps to continue what we're doing on a daily basis here. Some of the initiatives that we've been focusing on for the last year, the Family Alliance. We stood this program up a couple years ago. If you have a loved one served here, you are part of the Family Alliance automatically. You start receiving direct communications from the development staff. We consistently send out monthly emails. And those monthly emails include giving volunteer opportunities. We're always asking families for help in those situations. We highlight families, siblings, parents, people who have done really wonderful things for the organization. And we also introduce some of our board members. Not all the time they get to go out and meet those families, and so we try and do that within those communications. And then at the end of the year, if you donate, you typically get an impact report within that same envelope that is a whole roll of where your funds as donors going throughout the organization. Another initiative is grant writing and foundation solicitation. Katie and I could talk to you in extent about what we do, but it's really research-based. So we started this, Katie started 3 years ago, and we had this whole position that was basically focused on this. We went through a number of different organizations, we went through a number of different private foundations, and all of these different areas that we could find funding from, and we started pulling back information. Who are they giving to? On average, how much are they giving? Why are they giving? And so it's just not throwing something on the wall to see what sticks. It's really, let's be strategic about what we're doing to make sure that it equates to actual real dollars at the end of the day. And she's done a wonderful job, and I think we've gotten to the point where we've really fine-tuned the schedule that we've had over the last couple of years, and now we have a chance to really build on what we know. Diverse fundraising opportunities. So we know that not everyone, it's not a one-size-fit-all in fund development. It's some people engage in different ways, some people respond to different types of stories, and so we spend a lot of time focusing on what are those opportunities for the people that we're serving. And so events, some people really like the gala, some people like to participate with the silent auction, some people like getting out and telling the story of St. Coletta and getting in front of people. Other people want hands-off. And so if you send me a mail, a piece of mail, I'm going to send you a check. If you send me an email, I'll click on the link and donate, but please don't ask me to show up to anything. And we recognize that's just how people are, and that's how people operate. Time is valuable to people, and sometimes we just can't get that participation going. The giving tree, if you've been over to the headquarters, that's another opportunity to give. This is where we have these big, wonderful, beautiful trees on the wall. Their leaves they can be dedicated to people, your family, your loved one, and it's another fundraising opportunity. It's very hands-off. It was done through a donated gift, legacy gift. Actually, someone left behind about $300,000, and we were able to pay for the wall that way. But that is just like a gift that keeps on giving, and every year we bring in thousands of dollars for that wall. So very easy, gives people the warm and fuzzies, being able to donate in that capacity. They get to see a loved one's name or a family name on the wall, and it's really important to them. This year we tried Cars for Coletta. We had an opportunity where people can donate their cars, their RVs, their boats, you name it, back to St. Coletta. We either can utilize them in our fleet of vehicles, or we can choose to sell them and keep part of the proceeds. Becky did a great job. She found a company that kind of becomes the middleman, so even us as a group in development and our time is limited, we can stay hands-off for the most part with some of that stuff. So this is all just giving people different opportunities and ways to get involved. Donor recognition really boosted this year. We developed a first-time donor packet. Betsy's really good at getting those out. So if you make a first-time gift to St. Coletta, you're getting something back from us. You're getting a conversation. We also do video thank yous depending on the person and the gift given. And those just happen to be really nice. You click on those. It's just a warm welcome from our staff. Thank you so much for your energy, your support. We really love it. And please, consider doing that again in the future. Birthday card, so if you're in our database and we have your birthday, you're getting a birthday card from us, from Ted. He gets to sign all those, which is a lot of fun for him, I'm sure. And then streamlined and targeted communications, which I'll touch on in a minute, and database cleanup. Really, we are only as good as our data is. And we've done a great job, I think, my team, really pushing on a lot of the things of making sure we have accurate names, accurate addresses, including more email addresses, because that's such an easy, free communication to be able to utilize. Just making sure we have relationships, that's an important part. Why are people connected to St. Coletta? What draws them to our mission? Did we serve one of their neighbors' loved ones? Do they have a loved one here? Did they just hear about us from a friend? Did they get involved in a campaign? Understanding the relationships is a huge part of what we're trying to do. So when I talk about different donor segments, I'll keep this really brief. Who are we contacting? Why are we doing that? Obviously, family and guardians play a huge role in what we do here, and we look to that now and into the future to help support our mission. Alumni, we tried an alumni piece this year where we tried to re-engage people that might have been a part of our history at some point. We did reach out, Becky, 720? Is that about it? Yeah. And we made some money too. We got a $5,000 check, a few other ones, and so this is keeping people engaged in our mission even well after their loved one has passed. And then faith-based, we like to connect with our churches, our Knights of Columbus, and again, memorials and honor robes. These are some gifts that we've seen a lot of that have come through over the years. Service groups, Kiwanis Lions, Rotary, Chamber of Commerce, local law enforcement. Geography-based, so how can we target people that are just about the Jefferson program, or really interested in Illinois, or now starting to look at Greater Milwaukee because that program's getting built out. And just different businesses, how do we utilize the vendors we're already utilizing and we're paying them? How can we get something back in return? Current sponsors, local businesses, we love being a part of the community. It's really important to continue to build those businesses up. And a lot of what we do in development is word of mouth too. Our reputation is built on what we're doing for high quality care, but also how are we marketing ourselves and getting the word out to different groups. Another area that we focus on is specialized campaigns. So there are certain niches of giving that we want to really focus on throughout the year. Planned giving I already discussed. Recurring gifts. So this is something when we talk, I'll talk in a couple of minutes about communicating with donors by generation, and it looks differently for different generations. Recurring gifts are easy to set up. They can be in any denomination from $1 all the way up. And this is something that's a no-brainer to promote to people because you just start the process once. Mary Beth in my department takes over, and religiously it comes out each and every month. It's like our payroll deduction. As before you know it, you don't even realize it's happening anymore, but that adds up to be big dollars for the organization. And then matching gifts. So are there corporations that will match a donation? Are there people that work at companies that the employer has a match? So we have a lot of times, we have a board member that's at Baird. He has different colleagues that donate, and then they get matched like 50 cents on the dollar for every donation that we give. That money is huge at the end of the day for us. These are all of the different ways, and I won't read them to you, but all the different ways that we spend time contacting people. It really is dependent on what they like, how they're interested in communicating. And so we really kind of put it all out there for people so they have an opportunity to engage at the level that they're interested in. So when you talk strategic planning, some of the giving trends that we notice inside as a department, the next generation is coming. So what does that mean? Sadly, we're at a point where a lot of the people that we're serving now, they're parents, and we're starting to see them age out. And we're seeing a lot of the sibling level take over for those parents, and that transition of guardianship is happening. So one of the things that this is a silver lining because there's an opportunity that we can see here. The first one is, let's talk planned giving. What does that look like for your family? Where is there an opportunity to leave a legacy at St. Coletta? This is all really important to discuss now because the time really is now. Also, launching a major fundraising initiative. How great would it be to get both parent and sibling level involved in something major like a campaign? Art, we've got this conversation. Ted's brought this up, how do we get the reserves to 25 million in the next 5 years or so? That's going to take something major, a huge initiative moving forward to push on that. And then strengthening the bond with the sibling. Now is the time to start getting them invested, getting them interested in being loyal to the mission. We have some really wonderful siblings that have done amazing things for St. Coletta. Karen and her brother Greg is just an example of that. Always trying to ask, what else can we do? And I think that's wonderful. Another trend that I've noticed is that demand for virtual options is increasing. Siblings are interested in participating, but again, time is of the essence, and we don't really have that as a convenience. So people don't want to do something necessarily that makes them and pulls them away from their family on the weekend or on a weeknight or something like that. So how can we as an organization, as a department, push on that and make sure that we give them the options they need to feel comfortable in donating in the way that they can. So we can offer multiple ways to give online throughout the year. We're looking at creating a hybrid event. So we had to go virtual for our gala the last couple of years, but we have this opportunity potentially to go back to in-person, but we're going to keep the silent auction and everything online so that even if you're not in the room with us, you can still participate and you can bid on items that way. And so we'll just ship them to you. You can pick them up if it's convenient enough and you're local. So how do we create these hybrid events that work for everybody? And then strengthening communications. Oh, I actually had that one on there twice. That's very important that it's on there twice. So some external Giddy trends, I pulled these from online. Just some of the things that we're looking for in philanthropy in the next couple years to come. The first one is, despite the pandemic, giving continues to increase, and I think that's a really wonderful thing. The stock market continues to grow, and it tends to be that it correlates with people's donations. So if someone has a really positive year in their investments, we tend to see a little bit more that year as well. Timing for a major campaign is now more than ever. Donors are starting to realize how frail organizations are, especially when things like a pandemic hits. And since we can't plan for that, but now that we're in one, how do we understand and move forward and prepare for things like this in the future? Because it doesn't mean that it just ends after COVID. And then generation-based communication is essential. 70% of the US population donates money. That's not just baby boomers, post-baby boomers, that's not millennials, that is everybody, 70% of the population. So how do we pivot so we can actually speak to each one of these groups in the way they want to be spoken to? So we talked a little bit about the sustainability campaign. We are moving forward with the first phase, and what that means is a feasibility study. We've hired a consultant, their name is Baker Street. They're family owned, they're out of Stevens Point. They did a wonderful job. They actually won a bid to do a feasibility study for the DNR. For Devil's Lake, they're looking at putting in a whole new recreation and education center there. And so what we do is we start up by, we provide information to them. What is the vision, what is the purpose, why would we want to have a campaign? We put together a list of about 50, 60 names of some of our best stakeholders, people who are truly invested in this mission. They go out and interview these folks. They bring back all this data to us as a report, and then they move forward with either a recommendation to say, yep, you're ready to go, this is the dollar amount that we think that you could get to, or no, you're going to want to pull back and really focus on fixing some of these things before you move forward. We are primed for this opportunity, so I would be surprised if the recommendation came back any other way than go ahead, green light, and move forward. But really the indicator is at what level. You know, we want to get to 25 million. Do I think 15 to 20 million is kind of a stretch for a campaign for us? Most likely. But what about 10 to 12? And added on to the 7 million we have in there plus growth, we could get there. And I think that's what we're looking at Baker Street to determine for us. The Matrix project, this is something that Nicole and I focused on last quarter. It's really two-phase. The first one is, as we all talked about, the big discussion here today is rates. What's that look like? Where are there houses and pockets of clients here that we're really losing money on? And the reflective side, how are their families doing when it comes to supporting the organization? Are they volunteering? Are they showing up? Are they sending in donations? What does that look like? And where do we play a role in all that moving forward, and how does that affect our operations? And so this is something we've identified some of those groups, and we're going to start connecting with them later on this month and really go from there and have those conversations. So the development forecast, kind of these are the areas that I put together and my team did about where we're going to focus. The sustainability campaign, increase that family participation and support, build on that family alliance, what we've already been doing for a while, continue to improve on foundation and grant money. The money's out there, we just need to go and find it. Prospecting new supporters, bringing in new bodies, right? We can't always just depend on the same group of people to always do something. Where can we find new supporters? We've got ideas, we've got programs to find those people. It's just putting all that together, implementing it, and pushing it out. Legacy and planned giving, I talked a lot on that. And investing in virtual donor systems. What are some things that we're not doing that we could offer, or what are we offering that we could do better? And that's another area that isn't going away. Everyone wants convenience, convenience, convenience. This is something that's in the next couple of years that's going to be affected by it. I didn't do a lot of slides on marketing. Marketing and development really go hand in hand here at St. Coletta, but to me, in my eyes, some of the areas that we really need to continue on is promoting this reputation of St. Coletta. We have wonderful services. We have all these amenities that a lot of people can't offer. We've got recreation, we've got spirituality. These are things that we do best here, and that's something that we really need to push out to the market and strengthen our message with. Strengthening new and existing relationships. Getting into the communities, now that we're in Brookfield, getting out into Brookfield, meeting people, building on different business relationships that we have. Where else can we find funding from? Also, things like building up service groups. We've met a lot of that to Columbus. Becky and Betsy, they've gone and visited different nights. Jim here, yeah, he's brought us in on the fork group that he's a part of. And really, at the end of the day, these people want to help. They are in service for a reason. And how do we continue to build up this network and it's just a snowball over time. How does it get bigger? How does it keep producing that for us? Build up a media presence. I've had a conversation with Karen about this. We've talked a lot about this in our department, is getting in front of more people, radio stations, television networks. We have some really good connections now, the Catholic Herald, things like this, but there are more opportunities out there. It's who do we know, how do we get in front of them, and how do we utilize that to really promote St. Coletta and also find additional funding. And then increase, this one I didn't take off, this is literally like on repeat from last year's strategic plan, but increase advocacy opportunities to further encourage the equal rights for our individuals. That's it, this is why we're here, and this is what we're going to push on for the next few years, and it's just deciding how to go about doing that. And then I have, do you want me to play the video?
Yeah, real quick.
Or do you want to play it while we're eating?
That's not a bad idea.
All right.
So, this is your last one?
This would be my last one?
Okay, this is a great story, and some of you have seen it, but most not. So what we'll do here is, let's take 10 minutes to go through and get some lunch. Everybody sit down, we'll run the video, and then Art, you're on. Thank you. Gabby, anything about lunch we need to know?
No, it's all pretty self-explanatory. There's cookies and donuts still on the platter with fresh coffee and the
Hey, Mark. Good to see you, my man. You're the best. I don't want to go
The confidence minor league baseball. They already have it set up, so you have to be
Oh,
Starting to read stuff like I will say this weekend, all of a sudden, there's a so hopefully this weekend.
All right, everyone, continue your lunch, but I want to set this video up because it's important to our greater discussion this afternoon. One of the discoveries in these rate battles that we've had, especially regarding family singular, that is not groups of families, but family singular, is the emotion and the real conditions that are going on out there regarding care. This story is a story of Bethesda and that whole drawdown and res care and what can happen to the individual, the quality of care for an individual. This tells that story. It is going to be videos like this that are going to be our main hand to play with MCOs in the state. Because of these, as Forbes identified, these ethereal issues that you can't get your arms around necessarily, they don't quantify, but yet when it deals with an individual, it's real and emotional and all of that. So this is one of them. We're going to have more. We've got one in Brookfield, the IGC, with Colleen Brown and Morgan Brown, where the denial of services because the MCO was unwilling to pay for it. And we've had a role in getting that increased, but it's stories like that that will become a library of real examples and stuff. So.
It was very, very traumatic for us, because they've been there for over 100 years. And even though they moved there into a group home, we were still very pleased. And then all of a sudden, they said, we're selling all the homes, everybody has to leave. And we heard that there were approximately 90 people in Wisconsin that had to find a new place to live. Well, there's not 90 places available, or especially 90 really good places available. So we were scared. I mean, and all the families were scared. And they would have these meetings, where you call in. And all the families from Watertown were calling in and asking questions. And they never really gave you a straight answer. Are you trying to sell this to somebody? Is somebody looking at it? Well, we don't know. Everybody should go ahead with their plans, find a new place.
First of all, they said, okay, they're going to sell it to, they're going to get out of the Wisconsin business and they're going to sell it to res care, right?
Yeah.
And so then res care took over. Well, we weren't very happy with res care. But we liked the staff that was in the house. So we thought, well, res care is just the name. We really liked the staff that it had been working with for, well, he was a great team for 9 years. And so basically the same staff. And so we went and we said, okay, we'll play with the law, we'll go with res care. And then res care was terrible. And then res care, 10 months later, says,
well, they said that everybody a letter saying the home is closing in 30 days, everybody has to move.
yes.
Well, then our choice was St. Coletta. That's what we wanted. We liked it. We liked the religious idea. We liked it to be with religion. And we wanted Aaron in the Watertown, Jefferson area. Aaron and us, we have a good friend who's known Aaron for 30 plus years, and she's like a daughter to us. And she visits Aaron all the time at St. Coletta. She's very, very involved in his life. So we did not want Aaron going to Milwaukee or Cedar, we just wanted him at St. Coletta. And so we sent all the paperwork in. We were working with a great My Choice case manager. It was at the time when COVID was just starting. So when they interviewed Aaron, it was on Zoom. And so which was an interesting concept, because we said, we don't even know if Aaron's gonna come to the computer and stand, we had no idea, it's not something Aaron really is used to doing, is talking to somebody. And, he did fabulous, he stood there right in front and looked at everybody, smiled, and they asked him a question, they said, do you like music? And he said, jazz, and he was, so then
He sold himself that day.
yeah, he sold me, so he's got probably the cutest from there.
Yeah.
And Aaron is very small. Aaron is about 4'8", and he weighs about 85 pounds. And he's a little boy, and he likes to play on the floor. So the room is perfect size. So that was.
So we'll show you how, we're gonna show you what Aaron looked like 2 days before he came to St. Coletta. Okay, 2 days. This was his photograph. 2 days before. Okay, and then another one. Okay, look this doll.
Yes, little Barbie dolls.
Little Barbie dolls, okay. Then I'm going to show you the one about a week after we had Zoomed with him. I'm going to show you this one.
Now St. Coletta's down for a week. This is Aaron.
And that's his room.
And that's the same kid.
And so, it was just dramatic.
Could you see the difference?
I could, what is difference? And the room looks great.
Oh,
yeah, the room, I'm a pretty good designer. And so I designed the room exactly how I thought it would fit. And
his room is terrific.
So it's small for him, and he's a small person, and he doesn't need a lot of space.
They took a look at his hair and they said to us, is that how he's supposed to look?
Yeah.
We said, no.
We had been begging to cut it.
St. Coletta's, the next time we talked, his hair was all cut, and we thought, oh my God, we were very impressed.
So,
I think you just have to be careful with what place you go with, what facility or company you choose, because lots of times it's not right for the child to go into some of these homes. And we've heard that some of the Bethesda people that did go into other homes, the homes were dirty, they were not safe. Whenever we see Aaron's house, everything looks lovely. Aaron's been really happy there, they've taken good care of him, but he has adjusted. We're very, very, very pleased with Coletta.
So that's not designed to just be a rah-rah for St. Coletta. It's carefully designed to capture the emotion of a family who lost their services, not necessarily happy with what they had. You can see the effect on the dignity and respect for the individual affected here. This is the kind of stuff that helps us move this along. So we'll get more of it. Kudos to Betsy Bright who put this video together and captured that within the Okay, you're in for a real treat. Art Young, we'll talk about staffing. This is a fascinating topic, and Art's got all the internals on it, so.
Okay, gotta give me back to a screen. Thank you, Evan.
Sorry.
Yep, that'll work. Good. John, can you hear me back there?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. So we're going to talk about staffing here. And as you gathered from what Ted said even earlier, right, we think the next 2 years is going to be a very, very difficult challenge in the staffing area. And remember you heard Jamie talk about our staffing cost, and that combined with our benefit cost was somewhere around 85% of our total costs, 85 to 88, I think he said. So this is really a huge, important area. And we think in the next, again, 2 years, it's going to be even more difficult. And I'm going to show you here, give you a little bit of history here, and give you some facts about our staffing, and then kind of bring you along to where a little bit of a peek where we think it's going to go in the future. So here we go. We're going to talk a little bit about Moonshot, a couple slides here, just to make sure everybody's up on the same page with that. Whoops, sorry. Okay. After we did Moonshot 1, and that was at the beginning of 2016, these were the results. Pretty darn impressive. Look at that. Retention improved, improved care, safer team, healthier team, engaged team, compassionate team, and we even got, believe it or not, some cost savings out of it too. So it was very, very, very good. But we had to do that, as Ken mentioned earlier. At the end of 2015, kind of the beginning of 2016, we had a real problem hiring people out in the marketplace. And we weren't getting any help in the funding area whatsoever. We said, look, we've got to step up to the plate, and we've got to go ahead and do this ourselves, because staffing and taking care of top-notch care of the people we serve is utmost important. And what we had to begin with is we always kind of compared ourselves to the Dsp direct support professional marketplace and our direct competitors. And we realized around that time, well, wait a minute, we're losing our people to a whole bunch of other industrial, commercial type companies and businesses and retail and you name it. So wait a minute, we've got to really compete with the total job market, right? So we said, whoa, okay, we're going to be with the total job market, and we've got to be above whatever the heck that level is in order to attract people to St. Coletta versus losing them here at the bottom when we're just in the midst of the job market. So this was our formula back in 2016. And you know what? 2016 wasn't that long ago, right? Like 5 years. And now, actually, the formula is about $3 higher per hour. And this is for, remember, beginning type individuals we'll hire with no experience with DD, right? Bringing them in, no training, etc. So anyway, this was the formula that we looked at. It's kind of important to know because this formula still applies. We took a look at large retail around our different locations. We took a look at the CNA wage rates. What was the average CNA certified nursing assistant wage rate? We figured out what that was. And then we wanted to take a look at where somebody would be if they were a seasoned employee with a bunch of service at a manufacturing company. And then we kind of blended all that together, and then we, oh, I should have hit that button, sorry. And then we added a buck to it. And at the time it came out that, well, you know what, we should be really at the $13 an hour level, again, for somebody with no experience, etc. And again, that is now a lot higher. Here's where we're at the moment. And as you see, we've got it broken down here by our different levels, but we really bring in people only at the standard level there, which is the $16 per hour. We pretty well have to do that in most of the market areas in order to get somebody, again, with no experience, no training, etc. We like to look for that, but you know, we need somebody who's good, stable, dependable, and a really, really good hard worker with a big heart. Try to hire everybody, right, with a big heart, but that's important. Here's where we're at with the greater Milwaukee area. very similar as you see. And after we ended up going through our good old Moonshot 1, and then we did Moonshot 2, we kind of say the beginning of 2021, you'll see here we had a really good effect on our retention rates. We were down there at about 68%. And look at this from 2016 on, 17, 18, 19, and so on, where we're at now. We've got a little over a 90% retention rate on a quarterly basis. So this is that group Ted showed you that is the stable group with us, right? You take a look at their face at the beginning of the measurement period, and then again at the end, and it's the same person, right? That's what retention is. And when you talk about turnover, to give you a feel for that, the national average for turnover for people that are in similar operations and organizations as we are is about 54%, 53, 54, 55, right in there. If you get into elder care, anybody care to guess what it is for elder care? What numbers do I hear? Turnover in elder care. 75. What was that back there? 75. Almost. It's usually close to 100% or a little more even. Can you imagine that? Every year you're completely turning over your people, right? Well, how do we compare to this, 54% or the 100% or 90 to 100 in that area? Pretty darn good. Ours happens to be right around 25, sometimes 28% turnover per year. And what does that equate to give you guys an idea? Well, it equates to commercial, industrial type companies that are out there, other organizations. That's kind of like normal. That's expected turnover. And for us to have turnover at that level speaks really, really well of how we're operating and how we're really taking care of our caregivers and our people. So we're in a pretty good place with that, but boy, we've got that really problem with that spinning wheel, right? That's the one we've got to address. Here's where we're at real quick with DSP caregivers. We really are at about 323 right now for a snapshot, different levels, if you will. And we hired 161 this past year. So that's a lot. That wheel is really spinning, right? Really spinning. Here's where we're at. I just thought you might want to take a look at this too. These are years of service, right? And if you go ahead and you take a peek at that, 1 to 5, we've got 196 people, DSPs again at the standard level, 16 at careerist, and then 4 at lead. And as you move up, you see more of a change over to that area. So we need to go and hire more people at that level. And talking about hiring, wow. Every place you go, you see people putting ads up, right? And they're paying whatever they could need to pay to get people. And they're talking about hiring bonuses and every other thing you can think of. It's really amazing out there. This is an interesting dynamic, I think, that we're looking at in the marketplace. And I think this is partly the reason for that spinning wheel that's going so fast. We had younger millennials out there, Generation X, Generation Y. Many of them, I would say, don't have the loyalty to organizations that other folks have. I think that's changed. I think that dynamic has changed. They're not nearly as reluctant to say, well, wait a minute, I think I'm going to go over there and make an extra quarter an hour. They're not that stable, and I think that's part of the issue. Quality of education, we're finding we've got an issue there. Personal knowledge, they're not coming out of high school with the knowledge that we really need to have. In the Milwaukee public schools, just to grab that one as an example. They graduate about 50% of the students that are coming up in their senior year. 50% of them, to say that differently, don't even graduate. But of the ones that do graduate, they're not all A students. So there is a definite problem out there, I think, with education. We find we got that, and then the communication ability when we're talking about, emails and communication between individuals and caregivers. There's a lot of issues there. There's a lot of misunderstandings that happen because of that. We've had a couple of issues dealing with clients because of that. Not good. So we're facing that, and that's a problem. I think breakdown of the family is another societal reason. There's a lot of families out there without moms, dads, etc. Grandma, grandpa are taking care of the family. They're working hard. They've got a couple of jobs. It's hard to take care of the kids. They're maybe going and taking them out to McDonald's and so forth. But are they there to go ahead and get the sense of values that they maybe should have for the family area? And maybe not in some cases. Respect for others and how you treat other people, that isn't always where we'd like to see it, right? Particularly with new folks coming in. Work ethic, that's a problem sometimes for sure. And that may tie into the decrease in church attendance we see out there. Either people having values and or reinforcing family values that people do have. So there's a lot of dynamics going on out there in the marketplace that do affect people and how we hire people, bring them in, make sure we've got good, solid, dependable people, again, with big hearts. And I can tell you from the HR standpoint, we also run background checks and drug tests, and we have problems in those areas too, all tied into all this. So what do we really need? Well, we really need to hire good top-notch caregivers. It's critical to provide high-quality care. That's what we're known for. We need to provide high-quality care to all the people we serve. That's the bottom line on that. We must pay, we have to pay competitive wages. If we don't do that, we're going to lose our people that are our stable people also to other companies that are out there. Could be commercial, industrial, could be retail, could be construction. There's a lot of companies out there looking for people. The demand for good people is very, very high. And we think it's going to continue, as you'll see. We also have to be able to offer an excellent benefit package. They're really not just out there for the wage. They now are looking for an excellent benefit package that is not only at a good levels of coverage, but a multitude of different coverages. I'll show you a couple things that we have in a minute on that. They've got to be able to see a good career path and how they can possibly get promoted. Nobody wants to go to a new company into a dead-end job. So we've got to be able to pay attention to that and offer opportunities for the people that we hire. How are they going to grow? How are they going to gain more responsibility? How are they going to get more pay for themselves and for their families to better their lives? We've got to be able to offer that and show them that. We, of course, have got to make sure that the people are well trained. We put them through a very, very extensive training program, and I'll show you a couple slides on that in a minute. But guess what? There's a cost to that, right? We put people in a classroom basically for about 3 weeks after we hire them, and then we say, guess what? You also need a job shadow for about 80 hours before you can work on your own. And, well, wait a minute, we've got to pay them for those hours, right? So before they can work on their own and actually contribute on their own, we're paying out all those hours of cost. So when that wheel is going around and around, right, we're paying out more and more and more in training costs too.
Hey, Art, question.
Yeah.
So the pay while in training, is that the same as when they would actually be out of training?
Yes, yes. And we pretty pretty much have to do that, Abby, to make sure we can attract them. It's a good question, thanks. And of course, we've got to make sure our people are managed by really, really good leaders, solid leaders. That's hugely important. We manage them wrong, we're going to have a real problem, and we got to make sure that they receive good communication and they get recognized for their accomplishments. That's really important. We all want that, right? I think we do. So we've got some recruiting initiatives that we've gone and implemented. We've done just about everything we can think of. And if you guys think of any other initiatives we can, use to bring in really good people with good hearts and everything, let us know. But we expanded the job postings. We've used social media for campaigns. We improved the referral bonus up to $1,000. So when somebody refers a good employee, we end up giving them $1,000 now, which is of course higher than what we've ever done before. But we do want to make sure all of our operations people, all of our people, know about that referral bonus. That's important. We've done regular job fairs, but also virtual job fairs. And we connected with the area high schools and made sure they know about our operations. And we created what we call a DSA position, brand new, direct support aid position for high school students, basically. And we actually have 10 of those, and could use some more. So that's important.
Hey, I like
Sure.
the virtual job fair idea. Is that something we can look into?
Yes, absolutely, you bet. We've done window clings. We've got a bunch of them. Probably should have brought over some here to distribute, but we've got those to put in the back of your car, and we put them on all of our vehicles too to try to attract things. We also had our operations folks, thankfully, have gone back to some of the more difficult work schedules and tried to revise those so they're more attractive to folks when they're applying. And of course, we just changed this year where we'll reimburse folks who get a CNA, Certified Nursing Associate certificate from outside organization. We'll reimburse them. So that's a really, really good thing. I want to share this with you. This is our consumer inflation rate. Take a look at this. We're going to go back to 2013. 1.5%, 16.1%, 13, 21, 24, 18, 12. Pretty darn stable, right? Pretty darn stable. We really kind of enjoyed that. And here's where we're at in 2021. 1417 26 42 5 54 54 53 54 62 November, looking back 12 months, right? Because that's the way they do these things. We're at 6.8%. December's not available. So thinking about that, think about a curve and take a look at this one. Not good. Not good. And this is actual, but the real question is, where's it going to go in the next 2 years? Where is it going to go? Now, there's a very few people in this room. I mean, Mario's one, he's bald, I'm bald. You know? A few people in this room who remember some inflation rates back in, don't smile, John, I know you were there. There's a few of us who remember what it was like back in the later 70s and the early 1980s, right? Inflation was really, really rampant back then. It went for several years. You could not get any kind of a mortgage unless it was an adjustable rate mortgage. And it was a 1-year adjustable rate mortgage. If you were lucky, you could get it maybe up to 15%. It was unbelievable, right? We had price fixes. You could not, as a business, raise your prices But almost probably worse, there were wage freezes. Nobody could get a wage increase unless there was a promotion. So what do you think people did? Well, they said, wow, I can't make any more here, I'm going to go over there. So they quit. So we're hoping that, you know, this possible trend here starts going down, but when is it going to go down? Don't know. We guess that the next couple of years, we're going to see inflation and we're going to have to deal with it. And then remember back on the wages, what are we going to have to do to get people hired that are good with good hearts, that are dependable for us? We're going to have to pay competitive wages in the broad marketplace. We have to do that. The choice, there's no choice. If we don't do that, we won't be able to deliver high quality care, period. So we have to figure out how to fund that. Hopefully from the states, with the government, and then fundraising to supplement that, but we really need to push those market rates, and that's why. So we talked about benefits. We've got to have a comprehensive, excellent benefit package to offer people, and you know what? We do. We have PTO. We also have paid holidays. When somebody works a paid holiday, they get an extra $2. We have a wellness program for all employees, not just those on the medical plan, to help them and their family members improve their health. We have a medical plan which now has 4 options with different deductibles, co-pays, etc., and so on. And we'll look at the cost of that in a minute here. We have Teledoc, which has been really, really good. We put that in a few years ago. It was so good, we now expanded that to all employees. We did that in COVID, during COVID, but we now decided to expand that for all employees and their family members. And it's a 0 cost, so it's a good thing. Short and long-term disability we have, dental and vision. We also offer term life, AD&D, voluntary life. We have a 401k match that we started, if you remember, in 2016, when we also went self-insured medical. We've pretty much improved that each year, so that in 2022, it's now up to 8%, and we'll match 25% of that 8%, which is really good for us. And again, we just started doing that in 2016, so it hasn't been that long. We have critical injury accident. We have discounted home and auto insurance. And look at this one. Pet insurance for your very loved dog or cat. A lot of it out there. Tuition aid too goes, for those of you who may not know about it, from 50% to 75% of the cost. If you go to Cardinal Stretch, which we, recommend, happens to be a sister ministry, right? You get 75% off. That's a really good thing. We want to help people, encourage them to get more education. And just this year, we opened up scholarships for high school graduates. I think we've got a pretty good benefit package, pretty good breadth. Here's our cost. We went this is when we were fully insured down here. We went self-insured in 2016. We did that because every time you fully insure your medical care or even, your property casualty, the insurance companies take a slice out of everything they offer. So that's how they make a profit, right? That's the way they operate. So we eliminated a lot of their areas for profit and margin, went self-insured, and we managed this pretty well. We actually, over the 5-year period, 5 years, our cost per head has only gone up 3.6% in total. This other line, the red one, is a medical trend rate. And the difference is 2.4 million that we would have had to spend if we decided we could even afford to continue healthcare fully insured. So we've done pretty good there. The other thing we talked about is we've got to have opportunities for people to advance. And with Moonshot 1, we put these ladders, if you will, career ladders, in place. So that beginning DSP, who's starting out here as a standard, can absolutely, and by the way, that would be at this typically $16 level, can learn these competencies down here. And when he or she has mastered those, can go through testing and move to be a careerist, and then make more money over here. And then once that person learned those careerist competencies, could also move up to be a senior lead DSP. So definite progression in there. There's a lot of opportunity, we think, in the DSP area that we've offered, but guess what? Not only there, but we also offer ladders in other areas, and we've had people move into other areas too, outside of operations. So there are a number of different opportunities. This is, whoa, you okay over there, Elizabeth? All right. There's a lot of different opportunities here, but it's really important that we do offer those. And there we go. And we have competency testing. I think, Carissa, it's twice a year now, is that right?
Quarterly.
Quarterly, okay. So our operations people, when they have somebody that they think is ready to be promoted, will recommend them as part of their review, and then they'll go through competency testing, which is pretty darn thorough. It's a written test and also a panel test and so forth to make sure that they indeed have learned those competencies and are ready to move up. Dsp training, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but it's really pretty darn extensive. We do a lot more than our direct competitors. The reason we do that is we want to deliver that high quality care. That's hugely important. We need to get everybody on the same page to make sure they indeed know how to deliver that care. So there's a lot going over a 3-week period. I'm hitting the button, there we go. And we've now, to improve the care and the time in the actual classroom, we've gone to also some virtual care in a lot of different classes. So that's an improvement we made this past year. Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate that. And here's some more. This is our continued education. This is important, right? Because we keep people's skills up to date. Important we do that. And we go above and beyond, as most of you realize, above and beyond the state requirements of 15 hours. But we think it's important. We want to deliver good, high-quality care again, but safe quality care. So, what do we think we're looking at for the next 3 years? As we're putting together our SWOT analysis of what we're going to do. Well, wage inflation will continue. We're thinking, and knocking on some wood, wait a minute, that it's going to decrease by 2024, but we think the next couple of years we're going to be seeing that. What level, we don't know, but we're going to be seeing it. We got to get those rates up, right? We must be able to respond to the market compensation levels. We have to do that. If we don't do that, we're going to lose our caregivers and our people, and that's the core of how we deliver quality services. Staffing battle is not just about compensation. It's not, right? It's also benefits. That's important. Career is very important. Promotional opportunities, being able to gain more skills and abilities down the road so they can make more money for their family. Looking for a very good work-life balance and flexibility with us as much as we can deliver with our 24/7 sometimes schedules that we have. Understanding from leaders, if you will. The number of available workers, we think it's going to go down from where it is now. And nationally, it's about 5 million workers less than what it was pre-COVID. So we think there's going to be less workers available too. And supply demand, what's going to happen with that, right? Cost is going to go up for that reason alone. So that's a big issue. Smaller demographic markets like Jefferson are going to continue to be challenging because there just is not that many people in the commutable area around Jefferson. And then businesses that do figure out how in the heck they're going to address all these problems are going to be the ones that are going to survive. We have to figure out how we're going to do that so we can survive. That's it. So, I think I'm going to Abby's slide there, but happy to take any questions anybody has.
I guess I have a two-day question.
You know everything by now, Sarah.
That's right, I forgot, I still talk about it today. So, do you...
Well, you should stand up for just a minute. Yeah. So, you go ahead, Nicole, you introduce, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure. I'm very pleased to announce that Sarah Godfrey here is our new residential director for our Greater Milwaukee area.
I just have a question. So my experience is that sometimes you can pay staff at this level too much money because if they make too much, then they don't qualify for some of the state benefits, right? Especially if they have children, they're single mothers, etc. Do you find that that's a challenge right now? Is that something that's a hurdle for us?
We have had that problem. I don't know, Stacy, Elizabeth, you want to jump in on that?
We haven't been too bad. I'm surprised, but that was one thing we thought about. We've had people turn down promotions in the past to go into management because they would make too much money. I don't know, Chris, on your end, do you see people picking up less hours?
No, I mean, we have pockets of people that we work with specifically if they have certain situations, but it's not broad.
That was one of the things in the governor's task force that was brought up as an initiative. They said we should raise the cap to allow people to do that, and you know, it got shot down. And the reason it did is, you know, the suggestion is you're going to underpay people so that they can qualify. Why don't you overpay them so that they can qualify for better benefits? And so that's the way we went on it.
Yeah.
Well, and we actually had one employee who was so excited to start in Brookfield. She was going to get a CNA with some of the new programs that are being offered because of COVID, so it was free to her. And she said, my goal is to be the first person in my family to go to food stamps. And she was thrilled to death. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, and she's still, she's with us, she's full time, and it's going to make that happen. So it gives you chills.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay.
Definitely challenging staffing, though. Thanks, sir. Yeah. Love your enthusiasm, by the way. I told you. Any other questions? John, you always have. Keep picking on you, but you always have a question. Anything? Okay.
All right. Well, we're about 45 minutes off the timeline, which is okay because we can make some adjustment here. The important thing is in the next half an hour, 45 minutes, of course, you're going to migrate, you're going to match your dot to the color that you have. The leader there is going to take you through SWOT, and don't be hesitant about offering something that you've just heard somebody next door in a different color provide, right? Because we want to make sure we get a good, rounded effort there. At the end of that, we'll assemble a group back together and by the leader in that area, summarize those things for the benefit of the entire group so that we can internalize it We may not get to program statements today, given the time. That's okay. This is more important, is this, group involvement with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I know we got a comprehensive group here, and that'll be great. So, group leaders, assemble your folks. So we got some food and refreshments yet here, and migrate there.
I'm in Robin Street. You are in Robin Street? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
We have to bring a whole table. I will figure it out.
And put this here.
We should move on this table. What are we doing?
Or you are.
Constantine, small office. I'm on the board of
Focusing on so, I guess we should start with what is it, strengths? Does anybody want to be a scribe? But Beth is an excellent scribe. Beth, are you a good scribe? I know you do. I know you do. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about
So given the information that we were, what are some strengths in operations that you
So we're gonna go first.
Beth, I think you're the best right here. Who said that? Thank you, Bridget. She said transformation and adaptation. Transformation and adaptation.
Thank you. No ideas are wrong, right? And this creative over there, Stephanie, always comes up with the civilian advertising, they're always doing a team.
It's very important for your is being done.
Like the willingness to learn and then to pivot, right? I agree, okay.
Our Francis to value.
The idea of methods that they like,
She said first you get events and
My ego is growing.
Supportive services like transportation.
So responsiveness,
We stand for
I think we have to get.
Oh, yeah, that's not a.
I think the willingness to meet the staff's needs.
thought of another one.
Okay.
Well, I think we got some dedicated
You can't, I mean, this is the thing about reframe the finding. You can say,
What about,
people from downstairs came up and talked to me and they wanted me to move, so it's kind of hard. But
how do you like where you are now?
I like it that now because there's less people, less clients, that to let people and I handle those. Yeah, and again, I'm I used to do my
One of the strengths is that we offer a bunch of different living opportunities.
I'm gonna suck up.
this is the one you love?
Red shot.
So what do you need from
We need an office.
There's gonna be a request coming through.
For her, that's right.
Wait, I get the office. Can we say maintenance? In-house.
With their expertise, different expertise and with that.
I see that. Okay, I'll be sure to get that.
Okay, super. Well, on the flip side of what Jim has said, volunteers are positive, all of them are part-time that. Volunteers are saying volunteer all the time.
Do you want to
Could I have one strength just from, I mean, I've only seen several cases within our organization. We don't really know any people. I guess it does go to the branding portion, I suppose, right?
Okay.
Yes.
I know we don't have to
Aging parents.
You pointed this out in your demographics. I felt like here.
Private pay funding have
Just like strengths and weaknesses.
And you could look at it this way too.
People don't know what information is involved. I didn't realize on day one what all happened in town. And another weakness is from department to department, we're not aware of what each program does. Yeah, and I think that's sad. I think we should all be educated in that, which would help with our marketing.
For government funding, I could see that on the weakness or maybe I don't know if we did that, but not government budget or the non-government budget, that's 2024. That's
One thing that comes to mind is kind of work-life balance, I guess, for the Omar, is to be pretty good.
Anytime somebody steps out of there, or somebody, Andy goes, oh yeah, how bad is
I would say our funding
That was the most polite way to say it.
Somewhat our overall community awareness, getting money into the communities and telling them what we have to offer.
Yes.
We have but not very many people know about that.
Sometimes fire the street, like when I introduce myself, especially on the party side, you're still around. You know, so they like it's something like they're so old that people don't think it still exists. So maybe.
And then there are people that do
I agree with like Daphne. I know it was hard to take everybody from the country, like from a day program and start bring them in. But they felt like so I think it's pushing or just awareness in the community. Like, yes, we're here.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that know about Coletta, especially over Kennedy and over things like that. But beyond Kennedy, they don't know anything about programs, services, homes.
They think of it as
They know us as the same person. They don't know
like focus
for all the
And you have to get that out to your school. My goodness, that's huge.
And I think we market so targeted, and no one knows what else to do. So we put up a billboard of awareness. We have a billboard for transportation. And it's like, yes, but nobody else say anything else. I don't know how to make 50 billboards, but
The other thing I thought was, I think families of our kids don't realize all the things. I'm one of them, until I got on the board.
Are you ready, Mario?
Nope.
Right, yeah.
I think it's just
Lot of young people being admitted to the
I think there's still a challenge of getting the individuals that are transferred from childhood to adult, and so that's part of that, the other way. subject, but just making sure that we get it out there.
Yeah, we do all these things, make them most presentable.
Yeah, you know what that's all about.
Are we
Program was in March, but outside forces are.
Yeah, they won't come to meet with us just to establish a rate.
But like grading as well as vehicles are out of commission and not availability. That is what our standards typically. And I don't know.
Yeah, red tape.
Retaining our quality staff. I think the expansion of the conference is good. You guys feel like actors? Sometimes there's a lack of adequate restrooms that, you know, a wheelchair or a walker can fit into. So is the shower room downstairs gonna be better?
Yeah, I think that's too.
Community involvement.
How are we doing on ourselves?
Yeah, there you go.
That's probably good.
We don't have the flexibility to move people around. We don't have the ability to move people around in the housing. So actually, that would be definitely.
But it's also a luxury that most places don't have at all, so, right,
So it's not a patient. So even this is
Nicole. I guess, because of the tightening out of our health are we now having kind of a weakness with some other agencies that we work with, the NCOs, healthcare organizations, are we breaking them because we need them to operate at a higher level as we've been operating our higher level? We're asking them to do the same, and they're not responding. So, are we creating animosity? Yes, no, I agree, and we have to push the needle.
What we're able to do, and then having them partner with us.
Yes. So I don't know if that's a weakness or if it could be an opportunity.
Okay.
I could put it under opportunity.
I mean, they can train them.
Yeah. I guess opportunity would be more external. I think, for instance, like for during this moment, the answers that are how they don't I hope we can bring it back. If we can't bring it back, why don't we find it?
And that's where the program there is
Okay. Let's see if we can answer that one.
The MCOs are continuing to pay for this.
Yes, definitely. But that would be then
Yeah.
early childcare.
What I mentioned, we're going to send for having special events. Why, for example, Great mind.
Maybe the external, business does that on there. I believe it, so external is
Well, and other things are closer. And you know, there might be a deal on it, but now it's beneficial time to increase. Even though it's funding. Buying it times now versus. Well, we bound for that.
And in Illinois, they don't use that.
So, one of our strengths is expanding Jefferson and building up connections, embracing the law.
And it takes working with brain different than they expanding the programs around there for facility
Overall is community outreach.
She was saying like, what about like sponsorship, like what we mentioned,
Yeah, maintenance.
When we go to kind of like their, those outreach with more businesses that they're not even looking at it that day, they're seeing like, seeing Coletta as a whole.
Right.
You have to live there to get services.
So how do you want to say that again?
Why outreach is just for the.
Yeah, but the parentheses, because you might lose some of the.
Partnerships with local providers.
Businesses, communities.
Even things like those smaller for instance, smiles because like 2 hours a week. So where
There was an email that we received this morning, or right? They don't take, you know, specific person, they have not have referrals or referrals. So trying to find something primarily related to, you know, the level of care is too high for that. They have other techniques that are independent organizations. Well, that's exactly right.
Well, we're kind of talking about this service hours at local, so that transportation is
I was looking at it.
So, we kind of have, over the years, or at least for 3 years I've been here, noticed that. So with the DOT, we generally go back to but I've had such a.
Still think there's a big opportunity for outside training as well, like be the CBRF, some of those other things that we do really well, the MAT, those kind of things for outside agencies.
And so we've never gone.
Especially since so many of those small places are closing, but they still need their employees. There's less trainers out there.
Maybe with that partnership.
But making sure we're out there.
Doing more opportunity to receive, dropping off things to them. If we're in their face and what they see our name, and whether they can say it or not, if we're very friendly with them, they're gonna say our name more often than something else. Whether it's okay or not, it's okay.
And there's still pamphlets and everything else outside that you know, continues to take.
think like trash bag or like what's not stagnant, you know, how do we look here to get those things?
We do have one.
Yes, yes I did.
Health services, right?
I was just saying nobody here except for Mario. I think guys, aside from like that, because I hear a lot of that too, and they can verify.
A dietary would be another really nice one to add.
I also think music therapy. Somebody that comes in and
Yeah.
What about the rep? I mean, it's early childcare, I know, but like, my feel is like, until like 6, 7.
Weekend program. Yeah.
Summer camp.
You guys were we used to and we got checked out by a psychologist.
That somebody went to school for.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not trying to find
More clinicals.
Summer camp.
Yeah, I know.
That would be good.
That's a threat, yeah, big time. Boss.
Finance. Well, I know that I'm going to
I'll take it.
As an opportunity of pet therapy, you know, that stuff, there's only a limited, and
There are a lot of things that it's all about. It's not, it's whole life.
And maybe that can I add on to this increase?
Great opportunity for us to sell.
So kind of collaborating with you guys, hers, like leaders, or like saying, or even if you go build that further and say volunteer based.
What culture?
Pandemic.
On first unforeseen catastrophes. Yeah. I'm not sure how much it comes up with legislation is I just don't know how well you got it, you have been doing some kind
A lot of people perception it's 30.
It's more than 30 years. It's 1904.
I don't think it's there, but I think it is, definitely, I think they did us still going to that. There was. Yeah, what, yeah.
I don't think it's part of finance, but I still see this FCA.
And then just $100 people apply.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
I do.
It's probably called under inflation, but also material costs, running our operations. It's, all the supplies that we need to use, even toilet paper, things like that. Food, gasoline, all those things that. So we're doing all those things that are not totally.
Did Bob just say he wants to get the toilet paper? I can't hear real well down there.
He says he's paying too much for it.
Oh, that's probably COVID. They run about the story.
Yeah.
Good
How about some power students?
Extend our bachelor's.
You could always.
If you be an opportunity for programs,
I don't think it's going to go away. I mean, I just have more and more people that take advantage of organizations that don't have the infrastructure to maintain a strong net or a strong barrier. I mean, I think Tim does a great job with it. And the extra training that we get each year helps us to maintaining that, paying for the software that protects our. I would say staff Yeah, burnout should probably be at the That's not it.
I don't know how to word it.
What about other organizations? I mean, there's the new one that's, yeah, that's Farmers is gonna open up something. You know, it may not be a huge competition, and I'm not sure if to get it off the ground, but does it take one or two people away from us? Maybe. Yeah.
Because we keep with staff, even with other businesses.
Well, even if it's like a new Walmart or somewhere to open up, that would be a big threat to us. It doesn't have to be direct, you know. That opens up the area. Cross staff.
The difficulty there, something about the difficulty is holding clients with increasing comorbidities, just with it's tougher at a staffing level with what the state would like to do. So that's true. We'll do that. Right. Give me to the end of the day. I'll put something
What's an ICF? Question is, what's an ICF?
Intermediate facility, so it's like a skilled
right.
Any day would run.
The state is not support. So we moved away from that. Besides, a threat to us also could be the reps.
So a couple of them, the state has closed down as well.
I was
speaking out of turn. Thanks to me, we have a lot of
One challenge for ICF is really consider
Government could manage, and that would be a threat to us as well. Because we're not going to keep all of our employees if that's going to no we don't know what's they receive, but as they come through, we have to respond to it and change our funded or not.
Right? And with certain things like that, it requires us to do more work for less. There's
Same
nothing on the surface, but yep.
It used to be with the government, they paid us to stay home.
So that's why when Andrew steps to the
We'll writing extra sick time or them having to cover their shifts is a real change to how we operate every day.
Look at those little guys.
Did you notice the eyes? Story. Board of Directors, sisters.
In our support of the staff families, I mean, COVID happened and so we said, okay, your kids have to learn at home. Well, you have to work as well, so we said, bring your computers in. And yeah, and so that was a huge response that it happened pretty fast. It was pretty amazing. So we just had to redo that virtually. So
we support staff and families that are in need. We've had a lot of, people that are injured or had a catastrophic event in their families, and then we raise 10 grand from people donating people, things like that. So which is the outreach of our own staff supporting our Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of our clients.
Skeptical. Yeah. For Nicole, yes. Sorry.
We want to have clients here.
But Sharon was mentioning, because even it's a big issue. I know I live with an irritated my life. So that's another one.
How do we reach those families that are moving from high school age 21 to residential?
I think one of our great strengths, and I should have thought about this earlier, our own self-advocate in programming, she's finding her voice to help the others she works with not have a voice, and she takes it to Facebook every single day.
Culture?
I think we really gather around our I don't think we get trained to do one side of it. Right now, I try to make it faith in each other.
We always try to be like one step forward. We're always trying to be proactive and getting progressive. That's nice.
Same accepting.
So when I was in Cleary, first of all, we had a bar and we had
Any cider? I can.
I'll see what I have.
It does not sound good.
Apparently, you just don't have the command to get everybody moving. But you chose not to use it. My grandmother could do that. Hears everybody do it. You could hear her have one of the way. We're glad that you decided to stay where we are. But that's very reflective. That's a good decision.
It's funny because it absolutely goes underneath me, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be picky. Thank you. I'm like, geez, I mean, New Year's resolution, my goodness.
Well, really, could you be mad at that? You can't be mad at it. You win. Okay. That's all perspective. 3 weeks may have seemed like a short time. So it took about 3 weeks to get her Everybody,
for your group to present your squad. And that'll take about probably 15 minutes. And we've got Abby ran back to get the copy of the old strategic plan because the next step is this strategy statement thing. Now, we may not get there entirely today, just because we don't have a lot of time left. But this is a rare opportunity because you got your whole group here, is to simply look at that strategy statement and say, does this still work for us? And if you can get that accomplished today, we're in an incredible spot to launch with the development of action plans and things like that. So,
Is this what you're looking for?
yeah, she was going to get a copy for each group. So, because, yeah, one, it'll be hard. So, is there somebody, Nicole, that would be ready to go here for you guys?
Sure.
Okay. So why don't we start with operations? You can go through your list. If by the time we get around, there's going to be a lot of duplicates in things. If it is, just say we got that one, we got this one. Just present your newer ones. And by the time we get to the end, we may not have any new ones, but we might have a few. Anyway, we'll take these paper copies and synthesize them, present it to the group, and then send it out to everybody, so you'll have it. So, Nicole, if you would, jump right in. Robin, your guys are next.
Sure. And so some of these are just umbrella terms as well, okay? So strengths. We found that St. Coletta is proactive and progressive with our operations, accepting diversity in programs. We have well-developed systems such as SharePoint. Our board of directors, we feel, are strengths, so as well as our sisters and our supportive family members. We feel that St. Coletta is transformation and adaptive. Leadership is strong, teams are strong. We have in-house experts, such as our maintenance crew. We have client-centered programs. Our strengths lie in our ability to expand, our willingness to adapt and pivot, our home and program branding, our spirituality, our spiritual support is also a strength, our Franciscan values and faith. We have supportive services, quality homes. We have a strong history, offer a variety of living options. Our siblings, and I said families already, but we pointed out siblings in particular, we feel are a strength of ours. Our staff support, also our client engagement, our reputation, and our caring culture are all strengths that we have. Next. Weaknesses. So our weaknesses, our aging population, our aging demographics. We have a higher median age of folks that we have here, which means we have less younger clients. So that's a weakness for us. We should bring in younger clients into the company. Interdepartmental communication could be better. Also, continue work on our branding. Government red tape is a weakness for us. Retention of quality staff. Work-life balance can be seen as a weakness. Funding challenges, staffing challenges. Community awareness. It's also, maybe our reputation is a strength, but also that people are still asking, are we still here? You know, are we still open? Or what are all the programs that St. Coletta offers? What are the services? We don't have that out there enough. So marketing that side is could be a weakness. Another weakness is, do we have enough space? That could be also an opportunity. Could we have more space? Also, our facilities could be more accessible, and then the cost of program space. A weakness is that when we rent and lease space, it tends to be expensive. So that is a weakness. Opportunities. Early childcare. Part-time positions or sub-positions, increase our sub-pool. Commercial real estate in Illinois, Jefferson, and the greater Milwaukee area. Partnering with MCOs, hospitals, rehab. So doing more partnerships, community partnerships. Advocacy at the local, state, and MCO levels. Program expansion and design. Relationship development for fundraising, more particularly in Illinois. Community outreach and partners with provider businesses. Marketing with the ADRC. Home-based services. Could we offer counseling services, summer camp, schedule flexibility for the staff, accessibility, weekend respite, and expand our transportation services. Lastly, threats. The government. Our finances, limited resources, staffing. COVID-19 has been a threat. Staff burnout, cybersecurity and information security, regulations, positive COVID cases within our programs and services, unforeseen disasters. So it doesn't have to be COVID, it could be something else that's unforeseen. Inflation, right? The cost of doing business. Existing perception of, say, Coletta. MCOs, greater cost of care, competition with any business. So it doesn't have to be within our industry. It's every industry is a competition, right? Competition for staff, competition for to serve clients. And then mandates, government mandates. And an example we used in our team was vaccinations. So if the government mandates that we have to, our staff have to be vaccinated, that might have an impact on our staffing pool. So that's where we're at.
Moving right along, our community development strengths, we put our long history and reputation, the tenure, sorry folks, you can see that. The tenure in our department, we talked about specifically in our department itself, and then the overall organization. Great community connections that we built over time, good relationships, good and consistent communication. We have a very inviting department that's open to ideas. I told everyone they were boosting my ego with all this women. Outreach to siblings has been good, diversity in our events and fundraisers, current up-to-date market approach, current and market and up-to-date marketing approaches, strong culture and values, loyal family and donors. We invest in market research when necessary, family commitments to advocacy, dedicated volunteers, knowing the business and identifying its needs. The board is strong. We put that we aren't afraid to access additional outside resources. Our religious affiliation we believe is a positive, technology usage and what we're doing with that right now, and we have a family feel and it's all inclusive. The weaknesses that we identified, soliciting volunteers and the lack of coordination that when a volunteer gets here, where do we go next with them? COVID forced a lot of in-person event cancellations, which affects the development side, aging clients, aging families, also aging staff, people that have been long tenured here that are retiring. It's not a bad thing they're retiring, but you know, we have the backfill. Private pays should break even, we talked about. Utilization of databases and just how they're talking to one another, kind of like Nicole was saying, interdepartmental communications as well. More focused appeals, we talked about, we ask families for a lot, maybe we ask this group of family for something versus this group of family for something else. Speaking engagements we can increase, bring back raffles, that was Jim's idea. More connections and community presence, community involvement and partnerships. We can always increase businesses, grocery stores, sporting folks, sporting teams, and an increase in client participation, utilizing them in more marketing features, getting our ambassadors to show up at more events once we're able to do more in-person events, things like that. For opportunities, we talked about if we had to replace or if we cancel a special event, what do we do to replace it? Can we alter it to fit a different situation if need be? Grow our strengths in radio, TV, and media, and to increase and utilize those more often. Promote the orchard and garden. This is a big marketing area. People find that interesting. Build new connections, both in greater Milwaukee and the Illinois area. Educate and outreach to non-participating families. Increase St. Coletta sponsorships to other organizations. One of the things that we were talking about is maybe St. Coletta can be more proactive in the community, like we're sponsoring a Little League team, or you get your name on your bowling league t-shirts, things like that, and how can we give back to the organizations to spread the word about our mission? I'm losing my place here, let's see here.
Large corporation funding.
Large corporations, funding and more opportunities, let's look at that. The transportation department, we talked about growing our service hours, getting people into jobs either in the evening or on weekends, which would help us in marketing development, develop new partnerships and potential for funding opportunities in the future. The development team partner with other programs, the departments here, talk more about what they're looking for and help you coordinate something on your end to get something for your people going. That makes sense. Increase public participation in spiritual services. We talked a little bit what that would look like. Can we stream mass to the public? If not, what else could we offer them to bring them into St. Coletta and kind of become part of that spiritual side of things? Also, just market that spiritual component more, develop more spiritual-based stories. Plan giving, we talked a lot about increased Illinois community partnerships and collaborate with Illinois Friends. A lot of people are familiar. There's a parents and sibling group in Illinois that does fundraising for us, utilizing them to work that area even more. Building volunteer bases up, increase advocacy to our community, or increase advocacy communications to our families, letting them know when there's town hall meetings, governor listening sessions, things like that, and capture transition age families in introducing us to new school districts, special education departments, getting in front of them so the families come to the school saying, where can we go for services? St. Coletta's right on the forefront of their mind. Threats, COVID, staffing, funding challenges, competition for funding dollars, just all the other nonprofits out there, inflation and employment compensation, aging families and clients, lack of volunteers, lack of some family participation, our geographic location, how we're broken up into 2 different states, hours apart, things like that. Turnover, we put equals losing the mission along the way. Sometimes with new folks, a lot of us here who've been invested for many years, we do this as a mission-based organization. Some people we talked about do it more like a paycheck and a job. How do we change that perception? We talked a little bit about the family dynamic and guardians and how that's changing, and we're losing those parents, and we're trying to transition over to the siblings. We talked about the Kennedy connection and how there's this outstanding myth of they're funding us, they continue to donate money, we shouldn't have any problems financially because of that, which for all of you in the room who don't know, that does not happen. We talked about we touched on the abandoned buildings and the campus and how you Google St. Coletta, and we're starting to see like, oh, St. Coletta's haunted and abandoned, and take a look at these inside buildings, isn't it so sad? They deteriorated, they shut down. How do we combat that message kind of moving forward? We talked about our clients' health and keeping their weight and their health and their mental health all going fit and strong. And so unhealthy clients also equals to an unhealthy mission. Facilities, someone brought up to bring them up to standards if they're aging or things like that, making sure when we tour people that everything looks nice and pristine and we're really kind of putting our best foot forward. And I think that's kind of it. Questions?
Okay, over here we have co-presenters. Laura is going to come up with our fantastic scribe. Let's give her a hand. Okay. So, jump in here anytime. Strengths and staffing brand recognition. Our mission statement is very, very strong. And I can't read that one, Laura.
I wrote down, like for the staff, knowing that it's mission focused, theology, church, I'm a nurse. So when you're working with clients, knowing that it's safe and okay to talk about religion and theology, if someone's having a hard day or a hard time, because some places you can't. So that's a strength if you're a staff member who enjoys, coping with it, or just having a merger. It's a strong thing.
Flexible scheduling, our history, apple orchard, coming back, garden, quick response to job inquiries, but there's just room to improve more. Opportunities to, help me, Nora?
And encouragement for growth.
All right, good. Sub-staff, cost effectiveness, being able to bring sub-staff in. They don't cost us anything on benefits, gives us much more flexibility if we have a very large, robust, effective sub-staff.
Not needing outside agencies right now, still being able to cover your needs with your own number of employees. That's great.
Ease of the application process. The application, help me Nora.
So it's an online application with a phone screen, it's not automated. Lots of word of mouth applicants, we get quality employees, Dsp compensation benefits for this geographic area, but knowledge of management is getting out for you. I think staff really like that. And welcome first impression with onboarding. A major strength was meeting with Ted on the first day. Quality of training, transportation to work with me, that's a strength if you don't have a car, or if you have car problems.
Moving to weaknesses. Quick response to the job inquiry could be faster than what we do now. And
a weakness might be that you might be required to work some extra hours.
okay. Caregiver burnout. That was a big manager turnover.
Related to being on call, especially that was like a dissatisfier.
Poor communication from staff to staff and email and person to person. I can't read it wrong.
I can do it. Okay. DSPs don't have their own email. That was a concern. We tried to troubleshoot why there's no personal email. There's one computer per household and people are busy. So there's really, we're relying on person-to-person communication. People don't carry phones. People aren't looking at distractors because clients are. There was some question as to whether that might be some form of weakness. So that bears looking into.
Manager training varies. More manager training and maybe doing it by the manager's needs. New information sometimes is not part of the manager training. Need to improve that. There's vacant home managers are jumping in as a concern. You can take that one.
Yeah, sure. Residential managers, that's RMs. I was thinking they were RNs, but I got RMs. There's a concern about the staff that maybe they're working too many hours right now, and that there's a lot to do for the RM role. They're both doing managerial and direct care. So that there's always that balance between how much direct care do you do, how much managerial do you do in that role.
Accuracy of the background checks is questionable. We think they're pretty good, but we're going to look at that. You rule out a lot of people because of that. Drivers feel that they're not recognized and appreciated nearly enough. Availability of 2 HR reps, meaning Elizabeth and Stacy, and that they're overworked by their terrible boss. Let's see, notice, going out to new hires, better connections there. Maybe a probationary period for the new hires where if they're in one home, and maybe it's not a really good fit, but another home might be a much better fit, recognizing that early on, and then maybe being able to transfer them without, of course, losing them. Let's see. Oh, you got to help me here.
Limited staff available to mentor and precept new employee. So really rethinking the RM, broad responsibility, workload. It's difficult to keep up with consistency in this role. Maybe a lack of support for RMs since they're working 4 hours, lack of training, there's always more training, obviously, or need for it. Segregated training for the needs of individuals, maybe more tailoring the training rather than the general training based on people's needs or home needs.
Lack of daycare for people, you know, that we would want to hire that have family members, and they could be COVID, they're stuck at home, we got to take care of the kids. And I know that Bob is working on that here, so Bob Schmidt, so hopefully we'll have that in the near future. Opportunities with staffing. This I think was a good one. Shadowing the homes fairly shortly after the new person is hired to make sure that they're comfortable doing some of the personal cares and that kind of thing. If they're not, it's better for us to find that out early on. Having a mentor and what is that?
Preceptor.
Oh, okay. For new employees to go through the questions, etc. Mentoring for new employees, in addition to the supervisor, somebody that they could go to, have as a counsel, if you will, that can help guide the training. Improvement on the training for RMs, do more cross training, particularly with the RMs with their responsibilities. Improve transportation?
Well, the communication around transportation, their specialty, if not vehicles, specifics, different ways, that is a really good point. And someone might not get the training on how to have the paperwork or billing related to it, is that correct? Kind of like related to different kinds of vehicles.
You gotta take that.
Sure. Ensuring the process that check that training actually happens, consistent completion of on-the-job training packet. I guess there's been changes along the way. So there's quick feedback among the group about maybe reinstating some ways things used to be done, possibly like the DSM med role. There used to be a certain person who did the role of medications and making appointments and stuff, and that went away. It got assumed under somebody else, maybe on our end. And there was feedback from our group here that the old way was a big thing. So considerations always when we change things to look back and get feedback on whether people like the new way.
Learn from our mistakes. Go ahead and maybe take a little bit more time, try to figure out what we can do to improve, and then train new people to avoid those mistakes. Avoid the need to do a quick fix along those lines.
So I guess it was really good feedback. You don't always see things and we want to just fix them. So just develop attitude of let's study it for a while and optimize knowledge, skills, and abilities of careerists and leads and retirees. Use leads for more than just covering shifts. Adding responsibilities to leads and direct help, so to be direct helpers to the RMs, e.g. on-call for leads instead of just RMs. Another big one was hybrid work from home opportunities. Exit interviews delayed to 2 weeks after last day to decrease the direct reception. Possibly. Did I miss anything?
Add responsibilities to the careerists and also the lead positions. And make sure they understand what competencies need to be achieved to move up and get promoted. But one example was make sure the leads are also in the on-call rotation to free up the RMs and some of the problems that they have.
We can get all those, but then we have these ones. Capitalize on how COVID brought us together. And then there was an issue on the next page, so we came back to opportunity, about how challenging it is to sometimes work with demanding families. So I have here boundary training for working with parents and families, or some form of training with how to deal with demands from families.
Current hybrid workforce out there, people wanting to work from home. We do not allow that, of course, can't allow it with our caregivers, right, who have to be present. So that's an opportunity to maybe take a look at that a little bit. And get that wrapped up. Threat, wow, shrinking workforce, competition from other workplaces, where our people makes it tempting for our workforce and people to leave. Our DSPs and
with bachelor's degrees. So there's other workplaces out there where there's DSPs that are being offered more money because they have a bachelor's degree. There's a big movement now to get your master's of nursing. So you go to a program, you get your master's of nursing, you have a bachelor's degree, but you're not a nurse. They want to get work experience, so these other places might be offering those types more money because they have a bachelor's degree in for the DSP role.
And this came out of Illinois anyway. Thank you, Ron. Pressure on caregivers, benefits offered other places to their employees include things like gym memberships, and we need to take a look at expanding our benefit offering. Perception that
it is better to work somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just the overall perception. That's always up for if you think it's better somewhere else.
Social media, people making derogatory remarks about us. How do we counter that? How do we stop it? And maybe we use social media more proactively to our benefit. Availability of government benefits and people being overpaid. Does government have an influence? Are they paying people to give them extra benefits like we saw in COVID, where we'll give you this amount of money, stay home, right? You're going to get this extra money, so there's no reason for you to work. So that kind of ties back into the country workforce, but with our government interference. And then we had this parent guardian demand, and then the demand to shift work. That's pretty well wraps us up. Okay. Thanks, Ernie. Thank you, Laura.
All right, so in our strengths, we listed the foundation as one of our strengths. We're debt-free. That's a real strength. We have good, solid risk management. Our pay, benefits, self-insured status, government involvement. We're involved like with somebody like Forbes. Great individual care and housing, and capital investment to improve our housing, individual houses. And then the fact that we operate pretty much at capacity, leverages our fixed costs. And weaknesses, we said finance staffing is a struggle for us right now. It's not, the finance staff is not a weakness, but the fact that we're a small staff and yet the business is so highly dependent on its functions is a weakness and a threat to us. Building maintenance needs ongoing for the older building. Limited labor pool. A need for foundation growth. Labor cost trends and hiring process is perceived to be too long. So that sums up our weaknesses. Opportunities. Certainly our brand is a good opportunity and something that sells well. A concept that we came up with called being employer of choice, not just here in Jefferson, but in Illinois and down the greater Milwaukee area. And so fewer providers out there equal more opportunities for us as well. We have a faith underpinning. And then family alliances, engaging families who have loved ones here and engaging them in maybe fundraising and things like that. And then for threats, certainly funding from federal and state levels are a threat to the organization. Continuing situation with labor costs, labor availability, and even commitment levels in the workforce out there. Once they do get a job and show up for work, there's sometimes a lack of commitment there. Changing demographics in the workforce, government regulations, and inflation.
Thanks, Jamie. We're going to kind of push to complete, but I think there's one remaining piece that we could accomplish before folks leave today, and that is related to the strategy statement for your area. It is the umbrella upon which everything plugs in. So all the action plans, anything that will evolve after this point today, has to fit underneath that program statement. Many of the program statements may not need anything. That is, they may be good as they are, and that can be a check off. But if they need a little wordsmithing, if you could accomplish that. I'd like to adjourn at 3:15. As you can see, that's 15 minutes from now, roughly. And we could get folks on the road. I mean, especially for our Illinois gang that's got 2 hours ahead of them. That would be great to get you out of here a little early. So we can jump right into that, take breaks as you need here, and we'll wrap things up.
Somebody want to read it all up?
So then that's when you go back down to your action plans to break it down. So the umbrella is to say that we're gonna keep doing what we're doing and do it even better to see. That's the umbrella statement, right? That we want to continue to do operational services, meet the needs where they're at, and we can do better, right? For a mingle that we sort of have, and then
Like the last thing, fostering a cultural environment.
okay, so then the action plan underneath this is something. So we get
I think one of our goals should be that should be one of the Thanks for clarifying. Think about that. Yeah.
That the staffing meets the needs of that particular home, the aging population, and
Yeah, it really
We're always, we always meet, but it's not significant at this point.
You know, I realize that we always have to invest in the same thing. Having had a business, you're never stable. You're always spending money, and I get that. Should that be a major goal? We have training plans in place.
We've got different areas trained multiple tracks.
What I'm saying is we accomplish all of the things on this list.
Major goal.
Exactly.
I would say simply continue to do those, but then have an organization, major goal. Because honestly, things change so fast anyway that some of the stuff that was the goal last time isn't even talked about. It's been surpassed and sidestepped.
have a lot of wear and tear, and our programs and our goals now are all important. So we're actually trying to get back to 55.
Greg, I hear your maintenance.
Because we asked them that are
They're not all.
So should that be one of our goals? Is to eliminate non-accessible.
Yes,
So I bring it to that later, that's why I get back to the recovery.
Would you take that?
So will that matter?
He has some homes that are two stories.
I'll try it at home before I do it.
Can you say we're gonna make all of our homes fully accessible in 3 years?
We don't have to put them on.
I don't want it to like walk by. Can't go, Robin, come on, laptop, so you're fine.
That's something that's measurable and trackable.
Still have a lot of
We're actually a little ahead of schedule, and that's a good thing. Let's talk a little bit about process here and where we're headed from today. First of all, thank you all for coming and being part of this. It was a successful launch of the process. Administratively, make sure your boards get into Abby. She'll put all that stuff together as a list from everybody's board, and that will be disseminated out to folks. Also disseminated will be your program statements or your strategy statements as they've been either kept the same or adjusted or modified. Those will make it out. Now, what is that for? As mentioned, these are an umbrella to put action plans under. What are action plans? Action plans are probably what most of you thought of when you thought about strategic planning. That is, I want that new, bold, innovative idea to make it out of this planning process. That's what action plans are. That's where that comes into the overall process here. Now, I know Ops had already got into some of that. That's great because it advances the game a little earlier. But we accomplished what we needed. That is the SWOT and the strategy statements today. As we go forward here, we'll have at least a monthly meeting as a entity, operations, development, marketing, HR, finance, and those will likely be virtual. In the past, a lot of times they were in person. You can have a hybrid where you have some people in person and some people virtual. We have the benefit of doing all those things. And this will march forward. It's real important, the communication back and forth, so we keep everybody in the game here until we get to largely May is when this thing kind of finally comes together. You know, last time we did this, we were still struggling with some areas as late as the end of May into June, but we like to have that done so we can assemble it and get it ready for that. One last administrative piece. If you have any changes to the mission statement or vision, you need to get that to Abby as well so we can get those ideas back in. And that will probably go back out just for confirmation to the whole group. Are you comfortable with this change or happy with the way it is? Any questions from anybody about today or thanks? No. I got one last thing to share. You know, when I had taken the cross to Wendell in the hospital down at the University in Iowa City, you know, he was catatonic. And one little bit of information I'd never shared with anybody, not even my wife, was that I had touched him on his forehead, on his heart, and on his hand. I was the only one that knew that. And when he woke up and talked to his wife, she had said, you know, Ted was here. And he brought the cross with him. And he said, I know, he touched me 3 times.
Oh.
I never shared that. Kind of gives you chills yet. Guys, we're in a special place, doing a special mission. This is God's mission, and I know at the end, there's going to be a gift for you in this. For many of us, there's a gift now. So thank you so much. Abby, you had something?
There's a lot of food left, so if anyone wants to take any food, there's plates and saran wrap. So there's sandwiches, there's potato salad, there's all kinds of goodies, so please take it away.
Ted, I just want to say on behalf of Mary Lewis and Lori Nearad and the clients and myself, I just want to thank you and everybody here for involving us with you and with this mission. We are grateful.
Thanks, Jim. Drive safe. Have a great month.
Oh,
And the drug there is what? So what are you guys gonna do that one,